On December 15th, just after 4 p.m., what began as a joyful holiday outing ended in unimaginable tragedy on Emmaus Way. Zoe Johnson, just 24 years old, was rushed to Hardin County Medical Center with a gunshot wound, where she was later pronounced dead. Her life was stolen in an instant. But the effects of her loss will be felt forever. Her beautiful daughters, including her 3-year-old who was also injured in the shooting, will grow up without the loving mother they deserve. But the pain doesn't end with them. Zoe's parents now carry the unbearable weight of losing their daughter. In one senseless moment, Clint Newton tore apart not only a mother and her children, but an entire family, leaving them to grapple with a grief that will never fade. It was supposed to be a magical day for the Johnson family. Zoe, her husband David, and their 3-year-old had just returned from a joyful trip to see Santa Claus, their little girl's face still alight with the wonder of the holiday season. But as they made their way home, their festive outing took a horrific turn. According to investigators, a road rage incident erupted between the Johnson family's vehicle and that of 42-year-old Clint Newton. Tensions escalated rapidly, and in a senseless act of violence, Newton opened fire on the Johnsons' car. Tragically, Zoe was struck and killed by Newton's gunfire. Her 3-year daughter was also hit and critically injured. Now, Clint Newton sits in the Hardin County Jail, charged with second-degree murder for the devastating shooting that shattered the Johnson family. The heartbreaking loss of Zoe Johnson and the critical injuries suffered by her 3-year-old daughter serve as a painful reminder of the destructive consequences of road rage. These incidents have become alarmingly common in recent years, often escalating from minor frustrations to catastrophic consequences. Experts point to a culture of impatience on the roads, fueled by stress, distractions, and a lack of emotional regulation. What might begin as a honked horn or a gesture of frustration can quickly spiral out of control, especially when weapons are involved. Clint Newton's reckless decision to let his anger spiral into violence has shattered an innocent family. His actions were senseless, with no justification for the brutal murder of Zoe Johnson. Instead of walking away, he chose to escalate a small conflict into a horrific tragedy, leaving her loved ones forever broken. This act of road rage serves as a painful reminder of how unchecked rage can destroy lives. The Johnson family's heart-wrenching loss demands that we confront the devastating consequences of such violence and fight for justice for those left in the wake of this senseless tragedy. The loss of Zoe Johnson has left a hole in the hearts of those who loved her, especially her 2 daughters. Her 3-year-old daughter has thankfully been discharged from the hospital, but the emotional scars of that day will remain with her forever. Zoe's death not only robbed her daughters of their mother, but it also shattered her parents, who now must endure the unimaginable grief of losing their beloved child. Her parents, still alive, are left to navigate a grief no parent should ever have to bear, the loss of their daughter in such a tragic, senseless way. This tragedy reaches far beyond Zoe's immediate family. Her 2 young daughters, her husband, her grieving parents, and the many who loved her will now have to find a way to live without the woman who meant everything to them. Clint Newton's reckless actions have destroyed a family, leaving pain in every corner of their lives. And at the center of this unimaginable tragedy is Zoe's sister, Alyssa, who has been left shattered by the pain of losing her beloved sister. Through tears, she expressed her heartbreak, describing Zoe as her best friend and the best sister anyone could ask for. She struggled to come to terms with her loss, saying she couldn't believe Zoe had been taken from her so suddenly. Alyssa confessed that she was unsure of how she would cope without her sister. The horror of that fateful day remains vivid in Alyssa's mind as she reflected on the tragedy. She recalled how her sister had just begun a new, happy chapter in her life. only for everything to be taken away in an instant. Elisa recounted the nightmare that unfolded when she arrived at the scene. She described witnessing attempts to perform CPR on her sister while she and her brother-in-law worked desperately to stop the bleeding from her niece's arm by holding a shirt against it. The memory of watching the ambulance take them away and enduring an agonizing silence that seemed to stretch forever deeply haunts her. Amidst the grief, something remarkable emerged. Despite the violence that claimed her sister's life, she spoke out in an extraordinary act of compassion. She addressed those harassing the family of the man who murdered her sister, firmly stating that they were not to blame and urging others to leave them in peace. She revealed that she had already met with Clint Newton Sr., the shooter's elderly father, and described his devastation over the tragedy. With unwavering resolve, she pleaded with others not to trouble him or his family, emphasizing that they were not responsible for the horrific events. In honoring her sister's memory through a plea for justice, Elisa demonstrated remarkable courage. Her message was clear. Healing cannot come through further pain. She understands that harassing the elderly man will only perpetuate the cycle of violence. Elisa's words and actions do not excuse Newton's violent actions. Her grief over the loss of her beloved sister is raw and overwhelming. She expressed her anguish, lamenting the senselessness of the tragedy and the world they live in. Despite her deep pain, Elisa found the strength to transform her heartbreak into a plea for understanding, not for the shooter, but for his innocent family members who are also bearing the burden of his actions. This remarkable display of empathy, while processing such profound personal tragedy, carries deep implications for both individual and community healing. By refusing to be consumed by hatred, Elisa is modeling a path forward that breaks the cycle of violence without diminishing the weight of her loss. Her stance recognizes that true justice comes through legal channels, not through targeting innocent family members of the accused. Within the broader community, Elisa's message resonates as a powerful reminder of our shared humanity. Her plea for the shooter's elderly father to be left alone isn't about forgiveness or absolution. It's about preserving the dignity of a grieving community and preventing more pain from touching more lives. Even in her darkest hour, her actions uphold the principles that keep society from descending into chaos and vengeance. In the end, Elisa's remarkable response isn't about making excuses or absolving anyone of responsibility. It is a testament to love for her sister's memory and love for her injured niece's future. The loss of Zoe Johnson has left an unbearable void in the lives of those who loved her most. She was more than just a presence in her community. She was a devoted mother, a beloved friend, and a source of joy to everyone who knew her. Her murder at the hands of Clint Newton has shattered her family's world. Zoe's kindness, her laughter, and her unwavering love for her little girl are now memories that her family clings to as they face an overwhelming grief no one should ever endure. The concern for the critically injured young child has united the community in prayer and support. As this close-knit community grapples with this profound loss, they have shown remarkable unity in their response. Through their collective grief, they have chosen to honor the young mother's memory by supporting her family and embracing the path of healing over hatred. It's a testament to how a community can come together, even in the darkest of times, to support one another and work toward healing. The world lost a radiant light too soon when Mrs. Zoe passed away. Her love for her children was unwavering. Selflessness was the heartbeat of her very being, always prioritizing the needs of others before her own. Her caring nature extended beyond her immediate family, touching the lives of countless individuals with acts of kindness and compassion. Mrs. Zoe loved singing and being a homemaker. Though her physical presence is deeply missed, the enduring warmth of her love and the profound impact of her selfless spirit will forever remain in our hearts. While Zoe's absence leaves an irreplaceable void, her memory compels us to seek justice for her, to hold those accountable for the violence that took her life, and to ensure her daughters grow up knowing the love and strength of the remarkable woman who was their mother.